Back everyone. Let's go and take a look at the iPhone 11 and see how it compares to the iPhone 12 mini in 2022. Now, if you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description. You can get that from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, both these iPhones are also on iOS 16, and they're actually technically going to be some of the cheaper iPhones you can buy. I mean, this one is at, I believe, $599. This one's at $499 as well. So let's go and see how they compare. Now, if side by side, you can definitely see that the iPhone 12 mini is a much smaller phone. The iPhone 11 has a 6.1-inch IPS panel on the front, and I think it's a pretty decent panel. You're definitely getting a better panel overall on the iPhone 12 mini, but it is also a smaller panel on this iPhone. Some of you may prefer a bigger screen, and this is where this type of iPhone will come into play. You still have the notch. The bezels are a little bit thicker as well, but I still think it's a pretty decent panel. Like, if you're looking at this phone, I don't think you would even, if you're in the Apple store, you're probably not going to notice too many differences. It's not until you start looking around and kind of viewing the different angles, that's when probably the iPhone 12 mini with its 5.4-inch Super Retina XDR OLED panel looks a little bit better. Yeah, it's a smaller panel, but it is also higher resolution. It looks visibly better in my opinion, but also the bezels on the iPhone are completely flat, so it gives the impression that this iPhone has a less bezel overall, even though technically it doesn't, it has less body. So that was one thing to kind of keep in mind. Now on top of that, in terms of thickness and thickness, you're kind of getting a thinner phone, I guess, from the iPhone 12 mini, but they both kind of feel fairly thick. You're kind of feeling the thickest point of the iPhone 12 mini all the time, where the iPhone 11 kind of curves in. So I don't think it's a crazy big deal, but it is another thing to keep in mind. On the back, we also have glass backs on both. Now my iPhone 12 mini is completely cracked, but we do have a dual camera setup on both as well. So they're both wide and ultra wide sensors, so nothing really is different there. Both have wireless charging. The 12 mini does have MagSafe capability if you're going to use it. Both have lightning ports, and that kind of covers it up on the outside. Now another big thing to kind of keep in mind is with longevity. With the 12 mini, this iPhone is a newer iPhone, so it's theoretically going to be lasting a much longer time than the iPhone 11. But the iPhone 11, I think, is still going to be lasting for quite a bit of time as well. Personally, when I look at an iPhone like the iPhone 11, this is still going to be an iPhone that's going to be here for quite a bit of time. But with recent developments from Apple, I'm not 100% too sure what they're going to be doing. Are they going to be cutting out each individual iPhone every single year? Are they going to be keeping iPhones and then dropping two versions of iPhones? If that ends up being the case, then the iPhone 11 and the 12 mini could possibly end off around the same time. They could end off exactly the same time like we saw with the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 6s. But if that's not quite the case, then we're just going to have to kind of see what Apple does in the future. But as of right now, the iPhone 11 and iPhone 12 mini are both supported with software, so at least we have that kind of going for them as well. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone 11 has that Apple A13 bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 12 mini has an Apple A14 bionic chip inside of it, but it also has 4 gigabytes of RAM as well. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both of these. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background as you guys can tell. So let's get into it. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. 12 mini is here, 11 is here, and they're both on iOS 16. Music 3, 2, 1. And the 12 mini was faster, but they were on two different panels, so keep that in mind. App Store 3, 2, 1. And the 12 mini was faster here, followed by the iPhone 11. Scrolling through here, let's see if there's a difference. And kind of the same thing, not really that big of a difference. Mail 3, 2, 1. 12 mini was slightly faster there. Clock 3, 2, 1. About almost the exact same thing. Reminders 3, 2, 1. 12 mini slightly faster there as well. Notes 3, 2, 1. They were on two different panels, so we'll kind of have to let that one slide a little bit. Photos 3, 2, 1. Okay, scrolling out of this one, let's go and get into here, and let's just go and take a look at this first photo that I took on both, and let's go and zoom in and out. So zooming in and out, sometimes you can tell there's a difference. I'll go and zoom out again. Sometimes you can tell the difference depending on which one is the faster one. You can see that the 12 mini is kind of doing a faster job of zooming in and out, even though I'm clicking them around the same time. So kind of faster there too, which is kind of surprising. Stocks, which I do not have here. Oh, I do. 3, 2, 1. Two different panels again. We're just going to have to let that one slide. Books, 3, 2, 1. 12 mini, but they were on two different panels. So many different panels this time around, which is very, very annoying. Files, 3, 2, 1. I think the 12 mini was the faster one to kind of load there. Home, 3, 2, 1. I think the 12 mini is slightly faster there as well. Let's go and get into some of these other applications. We can try shortcuts, 3, 2, 1. Okay, that one kind of covers it up there. iTunes Store, 3, 2, 1. And I didn't mess up on this one, so we'll just go and click here. But I do think we're kind of seeing a reoccurring trend here where the iPhone 12 mini is consistently beating out the iPhone 11 almost every single time. It's not like a crazy big difference though. I don't think I would go from one iPhone to the other just because of the speed here. I feel like they're both very, very somewhat close to one another, but I feel like when it came down to it, the 12 mini was probably the faster one. But I will also like to add that both these iPhones are still fairly fast, and I've done so many separate tests between them for since these iPhones have came out. I never really found one iPhone to be substantially faster than the other one, meaning I found the 12 mini to be faster, but I wouldn't necessarily go from the 12 mini to the 11 just because of the performance. So that's kind of how I would kind of cover it up. I think both these iPhones are very, very fast. That kind of covers it up in the speed comparison. Now, in terms of the cameras, I will also like to add that these cameras are still very, very good on both these iPhones. The iPhone 12 mini has probably the better sensor overall, but the iPhone 11's camera is still very good. Both all 12 megapixel lenses on all of them. Both have 4K at 60 on the back, 4K at 60 on the front, ultra-wide sensors as well, which is really nice. Now, the iPhone 11's camera, I think, historically has been very, very good. And honestly, anything I've ever done with this camera has been very solid as well. Personally, I love having that ultra-wide sensor. The ability of just zooming out a ton like that is really cool. And more than anything, that's probably one of my favorite things to do. Whenever I'm taking a photo or even a video, having the ability of zooming out like that is really awesome. And when you have 4K at 60 on the front and on the back, that actually makes this iPhone feel and perform that much better in terms of the camera. You still have photo mode, portrait mode, pano mode, and video mode, and all these other things. This camera, in my opinion, is still very, very solid for sure, but also the 12 mini's camera is honestly just a better version of the iPhone 11's camera. Just because it's a smaller phone, it doesn't mean it's a worse phone at that. Personally, with the iPhone 12 mini, this camera is still very, very good as well. I mean, Apple's still selling it, so it has to be somewhat good. That's not always the case. The iPhone SE3, they're still selling as well. So it has pretty much the same modes, the video mode, photo mode, portrait mode as well. So if you're doing anything that you can do on the iPhone 11, you'll still be able to do it on the iPhone 12 mini. Theoretically, it should be a better lens because it has a newer chipset, but that hasn't always been the case. I feel like there's a lot of phones that Apple has made that may not be like such a crazy big difference in terms of the cameras, but this is still a very solid phone too. Between these two, the 12 mini is probably the better camera, but I still think the iPhone 11's camera is still very, very good as well. Now, this kind of takes us to the end of the video, and to be completely honest, I think the overall better phone probably is the iPhone 11, but the one that I mean, I'll tell you this, like the iPhone 12 mini is going to be lasting longer. It's going to be a better phone probably overall, but I still kind of side with the iPhone 11 just because of the bigger size battery and just because of the cheaper price tag. Because the iPhone 11 is a substantially cheaper iPhone, especially in the used market compared to the 12 mini, it kind of makes a little bit more sense to me to kind of recommend something like an iPhone 11 over something like an iPhone 12 mini. I feel like this is a more stable iPhone. I've had a lot of battery health issues with my iPhone 12 mini as well throughout the last few years, or since the last year or so. So because of that, I feel like the iPhone 11 is just a little bit more of a stable device. But when I look at the iPhone 12 mini, because this iPhone is realistically going to be one of the cheaper iPhones Apple's going to be selling once the iPhone 11 gets discontinued from Apple, this is going to be the one that I would recommend people to buy as of that point. Although I'm a little hesitant just because I feel like the 11 was a very solid, stable device. With the 12 mini, with the battery health issues, smaller battery life or battery size, it's going to be very interesting in the future. But if you have the money, go for the 12 mini. If you want a bigger phone, go for the iPhone 11. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.